summer, it is nice for all children to have a healthy snack that they can have. It is even better when these ingredients can be bought locally, so they are not as expensive. The recipe I'm going to show you today is to make sweet melon popsicles. First, you need to start by cleaning the outside of the melon. The outside can have dirt, which has bacteria, which can make the baby sick. Then you slice it in half, like I've already done, and then you can remove the flesh from the inside by a baller, like I'm doing, or you can use a knife and cut it. When doing this, you want to make sure that all of the rind is off of the fruit. It can then be chopped and put into the blender. It then gets blended together. After it is all blended, it can be poured into a bowl. To this, a half cup of full-fat yogurt is used. Yogurt should not be introduced to children until they are about 8 months old to prevent an allergic reaction. If you want to give this to a younger infant, you can use breast milk, although it will make it thinner, but this is being made into popsicles, so that doesn't really matter too much. You want to make sure not to use whole milk though, because this can still cause an allergic reaction until a child is about 1 year old. I'm using a whisk just to incorporate the yogurt into the watermelon a little easier. Then you're going to put it into the popsicle molds. This can be stored in the freezer for up to 6 months. This recipe makes 4 popsicles. Each one is 43 calories and has 6 grams carbohydrates. Next, we're going to take a look at fall. In fall, there are lots of squash and zucchini available. This recipe, I'm going to be using a vegetable and a fruit. This is a great way to get babies to eat fruits and vegetables. For this recipe, I'm going to be steaming my fruits and vegetables to prevent a loss of lots of nutrients. I'm using 4 butternut squashes. The butternut squash takes a little bit longer than the apple that I will also be using. So I'm going to start preparing that first. You want to clean and rinse the butternut squash very well, and then remove the top and the bottom so that it does not roll around while you are peeling it. It can be peeled by using a knife like I'm doing, or you can also use a vegetable peeler. Then you want to cut it in half. And then remove all of the seeds. This is the same way that pumpkin or zucchini would be prepared, which are found at the same time and would be a great substitute. Then you just chop the butternut squash into small, even pieces so that they cook quickly and evenly. Next, I'm going to prepare my apple. The apple, all you need to do is remove the peel, and then it gets cut in half, and the seeds are removed, and it's cut into chunks about the same size as the butternut squash. The apple adds sweetness to this recipe without having sugar added, which lots of baby foods that are store-bought have sugar added to them to make them sweet. After the butternut squash has been steaming for about 7 minutes, the apple can be added. This is how the butternut squash and the apple look after they have been in the steamer for about 10 minutes. I'm going to be using a small food processor to blend this together. You can also use a blender. And I'm going to be doing small batches because I don't have a large food processor. It can be served as is, or it can be frozen in ice cube trays until needed. It can be stored in the freezer for up to 6 months. Depending on the consistency of your baby food, you can add breast milk to it to thin it out, or you can add rice cereal to thicken it up. This is a much healthier way to thicken or thin baby food as compared to what they do for store-bought baby food. Usually water is added to thin it out and starch is added to thicken it up. The water causes the baby to eat more food without getting nutrients, and the starch causes a baby to fill up before they have had enough to eat. A quarter cup of this recipe has 21 calories and 6 grams carbs. Could you freeze that?